Hello everyone and welcome to this lesson. In this lesson, we are going to cover prompt engineering fundamentals. So the first question is, what is prompt engineering? Well, prompt engineering is a practice of designing and optimizing text input to Gen AI models or generative artificial intelligence models. Think of it as the art of communicating to an AI model. So think of it this way. We can start by saying, recommend a book. You can refine the prompt, make it slightly better by saying recommend a fiction book. Of course, this is a slightly better prompt because now you are explaining to the AI what exactly you are looking for. So that means the output's gonna be much better. And of course, what we could do as well is that we can be slightly more specific. We can say recommend a historical fiction book set in World War II as an example. So by going down, then you are increasing the quality of the prompt. And of course, that will lead to a better generated output from Gen AI models. Okay, so based on research, there are 4 critical components of building any effective prompt. The first one is what we call it context. Second is instruction. Third is input data. And fourth is output indicator. Let me show you a quick example. Here, let's assume that I would like to ask artificial intelligence models to predict a sentiment of a given sentence. So for example, I want the AI to tell me if it sees, for example, Apple stock increased by 2% in today's trading session, I want it to say that this is a positive sentiment. That's all what I'm looking for. So the best way to structure a prompt based on this is first, you need to set think of it as more of a context or persona. So you can say, assume that you are an expert financial analyst. So now you're setting the scene for the AI. So think of it as now this kind of intelligent brain is going to say, okay, now I should be behaving like an expert financial analyst first. And then what you do next is you give it clear instructions. So you say, classify the following text as positive, neutral, or negative. So this is just a clear instruction of exactly what you want the AI to do. And then you give it a text, so you give it the actual input. So you say Apple stock increased by 2%. And then what you do as well is that you give it what we call it an output indicator. For example, I can say sentiment, colon, and then just leave it blank. So the artificial intelligence model is going to first understand what is the context, know exactly what to do. It's going to take the input and it's going to generate the output. And when it's generating the output, it's going to know exactly what the output would look like. So here it's expecting the output should be sentiment, colon, for example, is going to be positive. Okay. So the output simply indicator is going to tell the model the format of the output. So this is, I would say, the best way to structure a prompt. And of course, there is a massive demand right now for prompt engineers. So let's keep going. The next topic that I want to cover next is what we call it prompt engineering techniques. So the first technique is known as zero-shot prompting. So the name sounds pretty fancy, but it's actually pretty straightforward. It's pretty simple. Shot means examples. If I say zero-shot prompting, that means it's zero examples prompting. That means I'm just going to ask the AI to do something without giving it examples. Let me show you. So I can say, for example, tell me the sentiment of the following headlines and categorize it as either positive, negative, or neutral. I'm going to give it here the headline. I'm going to say new airline between Seattle and San Francisco offers a great opportunity for both passengers and investors. And then if I feed that input to OpenAI API, for example, the output's going to be positive. So the idea of zero-shot prompting is that I basically ask the AI to do something without showing it in the prompt itself any examples. And this is kind of the description. So zero-shot prompting refers to the ability of Gen AI models to generate responses without being provided with any prior examples. Okay, if you're a little bit confused, let me show you what we mean by few-shot prompting. So few-shot prompting is in a prompting technique where we're gonna provide generative artificial intelligence models with examples inside the prompt itself. Please note that this is not included as part of the training data, basically, that we train the Gen AI model with. We found that if we provide the generative artificial intelligence models with examples in the prompt itself, that is going to guide the model to generate better results. Let me show you what I mean. Now, for example, I can say, tell me the sentiment of the following. Here are some examples. Apple stock declined 2% today. Answer should be negative. Think of it as if you are teaching the AI with examples in the prompt itself, okay? So you're not doing any fine tuning or any training to the model. The model itself is fixed, and now I'm prompting it, I'm talking to it, and when I'm asking it to do something, I'm gonna show it few examples as well inside the prompt itself. Of course, there is an issue here that we are actually increasing the number of tokens. That means more money, that means more cost, and so on. But I'm going to show you at the end when, for example, to do perform fine tuning versus RAG or versus using few shot prompting. What I could do as well, I can give it maybe another example. I can say, if you find Tesla stock gained 5% after successful self-driving demo, the answer should be positive. And then I'm going to ask it the actual question that I should start it with, which is OpenAI expanded its user base to 100 million. Answer, I leave it blank, and then the AI is going to understand that the output should be positive in here. Okay, so the third technique that I wanted to cover is what we call it chain of thought prompting. So chain of thought prompting technique improves the reasoning ability of artificial intelligence models by breaking down complex questions or tasks into smaller manageable steps. Let me show you what I mean. On the left-hand side, this is what we call it the standard prompting. On the right-hand side here, I got what we call it chain of thought prompting. So let's assume I ask the AI to do this. I'm gonna say, Sarah has 10 pencils. She gives 4 pencils to her friend and buys a pack of 5 more pencils. How many pencils does Sarah have now? The answer is 11. You can also ask another question. You can say, for example, the library had 50 books. They lent 15 books to students and received 7. And you will find when you actually prompt the AI with this, especially older models, you will find that actually these AI models, they are not really good at doing the math. Of course, this is changing right now, but assume that here we're just going to be dealing with older versions of OpenAI models. You will find that the answer is 57, simply because what I've done here is I did not break down to the AI how humans think, and hence the name chain of thought prompting. What we found is if we break down our chain of thought as humans to the AI, now the AI is going to actually generate better results because I'm showing the AI how to think as humans. So for example, I can say here, Sarah has 10 pencils, she gave 4 pencils to her friend and so on. And now in the prompt itself, I'm going to say, Sarah started with 10 pencils. She gave away 4 pencils, leaving her with 6. Then she bought 4 or 5 pencils, then 6 plus 5 equal to 11. The answer is 11. Think of it as now I'm breaking down kind of the math to the AI. It's like I'm teaching a student basically how to solve a problem. So now when I do that, if I give it this question here, you will find that the AI started to think in the same way as humans, which is of course much better than the standard prompting. And now it was able to get the answer correct, and the answer was 42 in this example. And these are the 3 most important prompt engineering techniques. And now it's time for our practice opportunity. In the next lecture, I'm going to walk you through the practice opportunity. And of course, as always, I strongly recommend you give it a try. And then I'm going to show you the solution afterwards. I hope you enjoyed this lesson and see you in the next one.